Yeah, I'm Bryan Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with Metal Militia founder, X Games champion, Brian Deegan.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get the insight to grow your biz from experts who've done it. Get behind the brand.
Brian, welcome to the show. Great to have you out here, man.
Thanks for having me.
So I usually ask my guests, how'd you get this job?
Geez, long story short, this job as an action sport athlete came from when I was 8 years old and grew up in Nebraska, and I always was into riding dirt bikes. That was my thing. I got into racing, motocross, and just followed that dream.
Was your family into it, or you just picked it up naturally?
It was something that I had to talk my parents into. You know, my parents weren't into it. You know, They were more, my dad was superintendent of the school system, you know, mom a teacher, and it just wasn't like, dirt bikes didn't exist in our family.
So you started riding early. Where did it take you?
Started riding dirt bikes at an early age, but it really made me focus on being an athlete. Like, you know, starting to train hard, you know, be focused, committed.
Took it seriously.
Took it seriously, and I feel like that's what started forming me at a young age, and, you know, was able to travel the country to go to amateur nationals. You know, my dad and I would drive hours and hours to find the competition, and it took me all over the country, and it got me into a world that totally was unknown to me.
So what did it do for your life? When did you turn pro?
I turned pro when I graduated high school, and that was in Nebraska. You know, I turned 17, graduated high school, and my dad wanted me to go to college, and I said, give me 1 year. I'll go to California. If I can get on a pro team and make it, then that's what I'm gonna do. And I went to California in an old pickup truck. I had a couple dirt bikes and a credit card, and that was it.
And your winner with more gold than General Brian Deegan.
How'd you come up with Metal Militia? Tell us about how that all got started, and you know, kind of maybe where it was and where it is now.
The Metal Militia, I'd say, didn't really exist when I was racing. It was something toward the end of my road with racing. We were doing tricks on dirt bikes when we were practicing, and that's how freestyle started forming. And the videos started coming out like Krusty Demons of Dirt, Moto Triple X, like these action sport videos showing our characters. And I feel like, you know, at that point, that's when we started separating from motocross into freestyle, and we thought, all right, we had a group of guys, a few of them, and we're like, what's our name? You know, like Militia, that sounds cool. So it was like Metal Militia, and that's kind of how it started. And we thought it was kind of funny, whatever. At first, we wrote it on our bikes, magic marker, and that's kind of how it got rolling. You know, I feel like no matter what, we'll always have the heritage and roots of what we did and the way we started it. We started a movement. We didn't just start a sport. It was a whole movement. It was a look. It was a feel, a way people dressed, and you know, it's that whole kind of 909 like thing we kicked off. Like it or not, it was a movement we started. You know. Yeah.
Talk about some tips, you know, from starting a brand from scratch. Some of the things maybe you did right, maybe some of the things you did wrong.
Yeah, I would say. Starting a brand for me was something totally new. I had no idea. I didn't even know how to like start an LLC. I didn't know any of that. So I kind of looked to the right people, and we started the corporation, and it was just filed the corporation, and we started making product, and just basically my whole goal it wasn't about sales or everyone's got to buy this or that. It was about, I get all this camera time. There's all these cameras and TV around for action sports, for the big stunts we do. It's about using that media to build the value, the credibility of our brand. And I feel like that's more important than hey, we got to build this infrastructure of a company and this, that. To me, it's about building a name, about building a brand that people want, and then the sales will come.
So how important, you know, social media is a hot topic. Everyone talks about Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all the other, you know, flavors of the month. How important is that to your brand? How important is that to your business? How has it affected? You know, let's talk about YouTube, for example.
Yeah. I would say when I first started Militia, it was late 90s, and back then it was all about really magazines and about getting an ad in a magazine or getting your picture in the mag, or a cover would be the best, you know, and then stuff started kicking off. Like, let's just say like MySpace, like that was kind of when it kicked off. And we're like, whoa, this thing's giving us a lot of power to talk to the fans, you know, and then Facebook, and then, you know, everything on the internet just started escalating. And YouTube, I mean, I'm thinking YouTube, all of a sudden we had so much footage, so much that we never had access to put it up. And YouTube was like, perfect. We're gonna put this up, now everyone's gonna see it. People laugh, people like it, we're getting followers, you know, we have momentum, all of a sudden power, and it's like, well, we're in control of our own marketing now. And that's what it's done for me. Yeah,
it's definitely leveled the playing field, hasn't it?
For sure.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's a big thing. You've got all this content, now you've got a place to put it. So how do you engage with your fans? Talk about, you know, what are some of your favorite social platforms? Like,
favorite social platforms, I think Facebook for me is good. That's one that's been powerful. Twitter, you know, my Twitter's growing fast, and you know, it's at General, and that's one thing that I've started putting in my media marketing on my trucks, or you know, I want people to see that, know where to go, to hear what I'm doing daily. It's pretty cool, right? Like you can kind of like hang out with me through that. That's kind of a cool avenue, and Instagram's kind of one of the new ones. But it's like, what's next? You know, there's so many, and how many can you post to, and it's kind of gets out of control, you know?
Talk to us about like what your fans are asking for, what your fans are talking about.
I think on Facebook, you know, we do live chats. Usually the first Tuesday of every month, I do a live chat at around 6, 7 o'clock.
Oh, that's cool.
And I feel like that's what they want. They want access to you, right? That's what the fans want. No matter what, where, how, that's what these networks are doing.Ey're bringing access to you, to the people they want to know about.
So you make time every week?
Yeah, I try to make time every day to post stuff, to keep updated. And I feel like if it's a day or two late, don't post it, right? Because it's old. It's crazy how things are now.
So you feel like it's important to keep it fresh. Like if it's even a week old, it's too old?
I think unless it better be really good.
Okay.
I feel like it's got to be something really funny or really good that you did if it's going to be old. You know, I feel like it's got to be updated daily, if not like hourly. That's like where it's getting to. That's
super smart. I think it's subtle, and for people who didn't just catch that, I think it's a really important lesson. I mean, with all the noise out there and all that everyone's doing, you've got to stay on the pulse. Right? You got to stay relevant. And what you're talking about is you know, the cross section or the intersection of content and context. You know, you got to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Super smart.
For sure.
Twitter. How do you use Twitter?
Twitter for me is, to be honest, I probably should be posting back and forth. And
no, don't worry about sugarcoating. Just tell me if you
let's just say,
if you hate Twitter, it's okay.
I know how it works, and my buddies will act so and so, go back and forth all day. I just don't have time to do that. So mainly the way I use Twitter is I use it as a form to let people see what I'm doing hourly of pictures, posts, you know, and just get it out there and let them see it.
Well, it's different. I mean, Facebook is nice. You can post something and it'll float down the stream slowly and people can share it. But Twitter is a little bit different because it's the now web. It's like what's happening right now. Oh, right now. Oh, right now. And it, you know, if it goes down, you miss it, you know. But it's smart that you sort of found a way to be efficient. I mean, you got to spend your time out there on the track doing stuff, not pushing buttons.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that's stuff I didn't have to do 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was constantly just cruising. I'm like, how did I have it 10 years ago so easy, you know? It's because there was just only a few things I had to do during the day. And now, just the social networking can take up your whole day. It can.
If you let it, right?
If you let it. And then I feel like, you know, I try to do what I need to do to let the fans see what I'm doing, and that's good. I don't need to engage into full conversations all day, because then I'm not going to be good at what I'm doing, and they're not going to want to follow me anymore because I ain't winning, I ain't cool, I ain't doing this or that, I ain't credible anymore. So I need to go do what I need to do, you know?
Are you the underdog? You see yourself as an underdog?
I would say in business, I feel like I'm the major underdog. Like, going to a business meeting, guys come in suits and they're like, you know, what's big money business? Guys are coming in looking like that. Well, I come into a meeting like this. It's the new businessman of tomorrow, right? I go to meetings with Tony Hawk, or I go to meetings with, there's guys that they come in the same way. Well, guess what? Those are the guys you have to do business with now. You know, it's different. The world's different now. And yeah, I'd say I'm the underdog for sure. I've always had a stereotype on me, especially being a dirt biker, action sport guy. Oh, guys are crazy, but are they smart business guys? No. But really, I think it's time to change,
Let's talk about failure. So you've had ups and downs, you've had crashes. Talk to us about the big changing point in your life, kind of that life-changing moment where you had that really bad crash. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I rode dirt bikes since I was 8 to about 20 before I even broke a bone. I was unheard of. I was really lucky, actually.
Yeah.
Well, broke a bone, I started getting into freestyle. Freestyle, I started breaking everything because we started learning to backflip dirt bikes, 100-foot gaps, without a foam pit. It was on dirt. It's before foam pits were invented. We were the OG guys, and a lot of broken bones. And the worst one, Winter X Games, I landed the first 360 on a dirt bike at Summer X Games, LA Coliseum, won the gold medal. Went to Winter X a few months later, went for a 100-foot 360 on a dirt bike over a 100-foot ice gap. And I was in the air about 40 foot up, and above the ski lifts, and my bike quit rotating, and I was coming on my back, so I threw the bike to get to my hands, and I was like 40 foot in the air, and I fell and hit the ground. I hit the ice, and everything shattered. Wrist, femur, hip, everything shattered. Lost 2 pints of blood, and now it was like one of the most intense injuries. Like it hurt so, like unbearable pain, And I go to the hospital, they did surgery, and I laid there and I was like, man, I can't believe that was like a career changing. It made me think about it. But I wanted to ride so bad, I was back on the dirt bike in 3 months and came back to win the event the next year, which is one of the biggest comebacks, but that was the hardest thing for me to get through mentally. And that was one of the first stepping stones of like made me start thinking about what else can I do.
How did you get through that though? I mean, a lot of people would just walk away like, I'm out. Like that was life changing. Show us, you have scars.
Yeah. There's my stomach right here. That's basically from us doing, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing Viva La Bam, did a backflip, really windy, shouldn't have done it, just kind of felt the pressure to do it, and they were like, go, and I did it. Under-rotated, handlebars went in my stomach, blew up my kidney, spleen, lost a bunch of blood, tore my artery, and I lay there for 45 minutes before anyone got there, and I was like going into shock, and I just remember I went to the hospital and I was like falling asleep, and the doctor's like, is there anything you want to tell your family? Going into surgery because I was no blood pressure. It was bad.
You're gonna die.
Gonna die.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, honestly, it's one of the deepest moments, and it's just a life-changing moment. Honestly, at that moment, I prayed, so please God, let me live through this. I'll never be bad again. Just let me live. Like life gets really real when that happens. And wake up my dad, my family. I'm like, wake up. I'm like, thank you. I'm so pumped to be alive. Like, really thought I wasn't sure if I was gonna wake up. And I said, all right, time to change. Dirt bikes. You need to get away from dirt bikes. You need to, And I sat there, I'm like, dude, you went to school, you were smart, you can do other things, and all that's going through my head, And I got home and I started looking at other things, I'm like looking at my sponsorships and going, all right, what other avenues can I do? And that's when I started thinking about car racing, truck racing, and other things, and that's kind of how it started. That's how my mind started turning away from moto a little bit, but that urge to ride was still there. Like I still had to fight that though. Like I had to tell myself, like, you're smarter than that urge. You need to stay away from that for now, because it's not worth it. And you've proved what you had to prove. You've won X Games. You won the championships. Like it's good. You're good. So that was a tough thing for me to get over.
Well, in business right now, it's a very popular word, pivot. So you essentially pivoted your business into something, into an area where you still had expertise. So you went into rally car racing. And others like Travis Pastrana and others had kind of bridged that gap. Former kind of dirt bike guy who got into racing, but you found a talent for it, right? Yeah,
and it's scary when I built my whole life on a dirt bike, and you get to the point of a lot of injuries, and your mind's telling you no, and it's like, what am I gonna do? Hopefully I'm good at it. If I'm not, what's gonna happen? And Mulisha's jamming pretty good at that time, but not great. This is years ago, and so I thought, all right, rally car, trucks, and Rockstar energy drink got me into opportunity in a race truck, and I went out there and I, instead of just jumping in that truck, I took it so serious that I studied every video. I studied the best guys. I practiced every possible way I could. I got in anything I could drive drove it, raced it, tried to figure out how to be good at it.
Yeah.
To where I got in that truck in the first full season, I won the championship. And in the end, I was beating guys that had been racing for 20-some years. And it was unheard of what happened. And so my sponsors were happy. Now I transferred, I pivoted from one sport to the other.
Yep.
And my sponsorships are growing now. They're getting bigger. And I'm like, whoa, this isn't supposed to happen, And I feel like it's the athlete of tomorrow, someone that can do multiple sports, and that's what was happening. And X Games had rally in it, and the story is, is all history from there, really.
Yeah, it's a great message though. Whether you're an athlete or you got a tech startup or you have a cupcake shop, it's like you transitioned your business at a point where you felt like you ran out of real estate or you were done. You wanted to do something different, and instead of going like totally 180 degrees, you stayed kind of within the scope of what you were good at. I mean, you were an athlete, you were competitive, you were a racer, you had this drive. I think that's a really smart message for anyone in whatever business that they're doing. So
yeah, for sure. I've always tried to stick to what I'm good at, and as far as in that world, for me, and it may go into a different sport here or there, but the same relationships that I've built and all that. And I'm not saying I'd be against just trying something totally off the wall and new. Who knows? You never know until you try. Because I never knew, like I said, I never knew I was good at driving until I did that. But I've tried skate, snow, everything else, and I'm not good at that. I know that. I'm not good at those sports, but one other thing I've really been into my whole life is training, martial arts, grappling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. That's always been a thing for me. And I took a fight with Dave Mira at Ellis Mania last year, and we boxed, and that was awesome. I actually got to get in the ring in 3 or 4 rounds, big thousands of people crowd. I actually got a little taste of what it was like to be that.
Touching glass floor, the winner of the main event. Make some noise for the General.
what kind of training do you do to stay fit, for your driving or for your step up motocross stuff?
I'd say for me, training, I go to Icon Sports. It's a cross training place, and I go in there. It's all core training, core strengthening. I used to lift weights and run and do sprints and all that, but now that's all changed to the proper way to train, and it's more about core training, strength conditioning, coach, and all that stuff.
How does that translate over to your mental fitness? You think it's important?
Yeah, I feel like if I don't train, I don't win. I feel like that's my formula, That's part of my formula to being the best, because I like to out-train people. I like to know that I'm stronger than the competition, and then I feel like that helps me win. And whether, what does boxing and lifting weights have to do with driving a car? It does. People think, oh no, whatever. It's mental. It's a mental game, and it does matter.
Brian, what are you afraid of now?
Afraid of now?
Yeah.
I honestly.
You seem fearless, but.
Yeah, no. I think honestly, what I'm afraid of is, you're always afraid of failure. You're always afraid of that, I assume. But more than that, I guess I'm afraid of, my worst fears are anything bad happening, to the ones I love, stuff like that. That's my fears, I guess, mainly. Make sure protect my family, my friends, they're taken care of. That's important to me.
Yeah.
Other than that, things will go up and down. You just have to deal with it.
So Brian, you're really an entrepreneur. Tell us what other kinds of businesses you've started and that you're into.
It started with Mulisha, and clothing was the thing that came the easiest to me, and I feel like that's where it started. But I always felt like there was so much more out there, and through Mulisha, I was able to build, the signature series shoes, tennis shoes, Mulisha shoes that come out through Etnies, sunglasses, and then once I started racing cars and off-road, we have exhaust kits now, lift kits, wheels, tires, all that stuff that's spawning from what I do. But I feel like if I'm gonna put my name on it, if I'm gonna make it a product, it's something I have to use. I would never label slap on something that I don't have anything to do with just to make the money. It's not important to me. Yeah. What's important to me is the products I have are all products that we use to race, and I use in my normal life. So I'd say, toys, since I had kids, I was in the stores buying toys like crazy. I'm like, we need to do our own toys. So we did dirt bike toys. They're, they're in Target, Walmart, called Metal Militia toys.
That's cool.
And then Mattel now does monster trucks. And so we have a Metal Militia monster truck that I actually drove in Monster Jam this year at 4 events.
Oh, that's fun.
That was gnarly. Like, it's way harder than it looks. Like I thought Monster Jam, that's goofy, this, that, but it is so intense and so gnarly to jump straight up in those monster trucks. And
yeah, it looks fun.
It's really fun. And at the end of the day, I'm like, that was a cool experience that I even got to experience that. And for me in life is about experience as much as you can because life's short. And that's what I've done this year,
Leave us with a few tips. What would you say to people who are starting their own brand, starting their own company? Give us some of the tips for your success.
These keys to my success, I'd say, were not going out there and taking the chances, not being scared to walk up, introduce yourself, to talk to people. Things crazy with the world now. Everything's done online. You can talk to someone, this, that. You never even have to meet them. I feel like it's important to me to go up, shake someone's hand, look them in the eye, build a relationship. That's my keys to business. Like, I think you have to build those relationships with the right people and really be a guy or a girl who, when you say something, stand behind it. Your word should mean something. And that's the way I think that's what's helped me in business. I've taken a lot of chances, and you can't be scared to fail, really. It's going to happen. I've had big time failures. And so you just got to be able to rebound and go back and work harder. And if you believe in something, keep going for it. Because it's like, that's your heart, that's your goal. Do it, go for it, and do whatever you can do to get there. And that's kind of the way I saw it.
So where does it go from here? I mean, you obviously got a long career ahead of you, but looking off into the distance, 3, 5 years down the road, even 10 years, I mean, you want to continue to develop these businesses. That's kind of where you have this entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I feel like my future is, still being an athlete. Now that I got into 4-wheel racing, I feel like that career is just launching. You can be older and race cars, so that's good for me.
Yeah, you're in your mid-30s, right?
Yeah, mid-30s. So I figure mid-40s would be like probably a good time to retire, right? And so I have all that time, and I feel like I love business because I look at business as competition. And it don't take, people always say don't take it personal, but I'm here to take you down. I'm here to beat you, and that's the game of business. And so that's what I've done, and I love it. I love the competition in the business world, and that's why I'm going to keep doing it. Whether it's with Mulisha or whether I start something new or do this or that, I'll always be in the game because I feel like that's a good game for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we've been spending a little time with Metal Militia founder and X Games champion Brian Deegan. Brian, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.